Good afternoon, everyone. This is your captain speaking. We're just about ready for takeoff now, so,
Shit, everybody move now. Go, go, go. Inside, everybody inside. To the stairs, quickly. Everyone head to the roof. The helicopter's waiting there. Go, go.
No, you're lying. That's what demons do. They lie to cause men of God to doubt.
I'm not telling any lies now, Father. I can feel it in your soul that you know what I say is true.
There's so much blood everywhere. Where be the rest of them? I can't tell. What is doing this, Mr. Simon? That couldn't have been done by no man, I swears it. I don't know.
From the minds of true crime guys comes Sandu Stories.
Our brand new channel devoted to our previously Patreon exclusive content, where we'll be bringing you our own version of true crime what-ifs and other audio dramas, one season at a time.
Join us wherever you get your podcast on February 7th. Now, let's get strange.
I can feel your fear growing and your faith dwindling. It's an intoxicating feeling. February 7th.
Hello, welcome back to the True Crime Guys podcast. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Michael.
All right, we're back. This week we have an international woman of mystery.
Yes.
And
another woman killer.
Kind of like Catch Me If You Can, except she was more evil and actually killed people.
Yes, a lot more evil. She took a lot more liberties. And it was later, too. You know, Catch Me If You Can took place in, the 60s, late 60s, early 70s?
Yeah.
A little bit easier to be anonymous. But she was doing this through the 90s.
Yeah, she became known as the world's most wanted woman in the late 90s and early 2000s.
Pretty impressive.
Very elusive. Loved to steal people's identities and then murder them, potentially.
Right.
And had a lot of tricks in her bag as far as getting you to hand over your information.
Yes, she did. She
Using things like numerology and pretty fascinating.
She must have been quite convincing, very charismatic, very charming, because I don't understand how you would just trust somebody so early on with important information.
Imagine meeting someone and within an hour you're handing over your social security number, your passport. She was doing this. She was managing to do that somehow.
Right. Well, a different time, to be fair. People weren't as weary of these types of things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. All right, well, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
You tend to be whoever's in close proximity. Your identity consumed in false reality. You follow close in the dark, you're just a shadow. Lost your soul long ago, no substance, you're so shallow. Chameleon, chameleon, you can be anyone, chameleon. Chameleon, chameleon, we can see your colors run, chameleon. Chameleon, chameleon, you can be anyone, chameleon. Chameleon, chameleon, we can see your colors run, chameleon. You can't hide anymore, your black heart bleeding on the floor. We know what's really yours, we see the truth. You'll slowly fade away, all the stolen pride and stolen names and wasted times on stupid games, searching for proof. Chameleon, chameleon, you can be anyone, chameleon. Chameleon, chameleon, we can see your colors run, chameleon. Chameleon, chameleon, you can be anyone, chameleon. Chameleon, chameleon, we can see
right, we're going back down to Florida this week.
Right.
At least that's where this case is centered. We're also going to go all over the world because this, as we mentioned, this woman was an international woman of mystery. She definitely traveled.
That's right. I mean, most successful con men and women, you have to do some traveling, or you're not going to get away with this. You can't pull all your stunts in one city, in one state,
right.
even.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta move around, which she was very good at.
Mm-hmm. On other people's dimes and other people's
of course.
identities, really.
Of course.
You can almost argue she wasn't traveling.
Oh, I see what you're saying. See?
The identity she stole was traveling.
Yeah, all over the place. All over the place. Pretty incredible, honestly. The length and the time of her reign here as a con person is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive, but she was an awful person. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. This woman would go to any extent to save her own skin and to make sure that her schemes succeeded.
Yeah.
So a little bit different than Frank Abagnale.
We see that with this first example. So we'll go to early July of 1990, where we meet 34-year-old Beverly McGowan. She was a bank clerk, and she was looking for a roommate. She took out an ad in the local newspaper looking for a roommate. That would be the South Florida Sun-Sentinel newspaper. Her ad read, Pompano Beach condo, share 2-bed, 2-bath condo, female 34 plus 2 cats, $290 plus half utilities. So she's looking for a potential roommate, and she's going to be interviewing candidates.
Right.
And over the coming weeks, she would interview several people who responded to the ads. And through those interviews, one candidate really stood out, and this would be a woman named Alice who spoke with a British accent. This Alice person was about 10 years older than Beverly and had all the signs of a successful career woman. She dressed well, she drove a nice car, and seemed responsible.
Right.
And her reason for being in Florida with this British accent was that she said she had worked for IBM back in England and said that she'd been transferred to Fort Lauderdale and needed a place to live. So everything was checking out as far as this person was kind of a perfect candidate. Yeah, a woman, obviously probably more comfortable being a single woman herself to bring in a woman as opposed to a man to live with.
Of course, that's understandable. And also she's very successful. She was 10 years older than her, so she's a little more established, a little more respectable. Yep. Yeah, that's the type of person you would want as a roommate, theoretically.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, and her dressing well, having a nice car, having a great job, probably not going to have to worry about the rent being made each month. That's another concern.
Yep. Yeah, she's got it covered.
And to couple all that, she also just completely hit it off with Beverly right away. They shared common interests such as New Age philosophy, which I looked up the definition of. It's a way of thinking that emphasizes positivity, spirituality, and personal growth. It's based on the belief that we are all connected to each other and the universe, and that we can tap into this energy to create positive change in our lives. Sounds pretty great.
Yeah, that sounds fine. That sounds good. I mean, how long can you call this New Age, though? I mean, this was, 30 years ago? I wonder how long you can actually call it New Age philosophy.
Right. Seems like New Age philosophies be negative as possible. Tweet negative shit at people. Me versus you all the fucking time. That's our New Age philosophy in this country, at least.
Right. There's a New Age philosophy.
Yeah. So of course Alice would be the winning candidate. She would be chosen as the person to, share a home with Beverly here.
Right.
And also interesting, one way that she also kind of helped seal the deal was they got into some numerology, which is also fascinating. She would predict the future for Beverly here, telling her that she would be wealthy and meet a man that she would marry by the time she was 40.
Yeah, she just needed a few small little personal details. No big deal.
We'll get into that later. She needed a few things to really get an accurate depiction of her future. Of
I mean, if you want it to be accurate. Exactly.
Right.
You're really going to have to forfeit some information.
Yeah. And this prediction of her future being bright would quickly be proven false when, in the days following picking Alice as a candidate, Beverly would go missing. She would not be seen or heard from her family, and even from the bank that she worked for, which was obviously out of character for her. And on July 20th, 1990, 3 days after she'd last been seen, Beverly's sister reported her missing to police. And that same day, she became even more concerned when she received a bizarre letter in the mail. So Beverly's sister receives this letter, supposedly written by Beverly, but it was postmarked from Miami. And the letter claimed that she was unhappy with her life and had decided to make a change, very much out of nowhere. She claimed that she had quit her job, sold her condo, and was planning to travel for a while.
Very out of
Also, her sister was not the only one to receive this. Letters just like this were sent to more of Beverly's friends and family members. The bank she worked for received a letter supposedly from her designating her resignation from her job at the bank.
Jeez. Yeah.
Also,
she's tying up loose ends here.
Yeah. Also, her mortgage company received a letter instructing them to foreclose on her condo and dispose of any of her personal belongings that had been left in it.
Who does that? Who writes a letter to their mortgage company
I don't
and ask for them to foreclose? It's like you just leave or you just stop paying. I mean, you have months.
True.
Before they're going to do anything. You probably got 2 or 3 months minimum before they're even going to act.
Yeah, foreclosure is not like a good thing. I mean,
right,
why would it? What benefit would there be? I guess maybe the only thing I could think of is like just so no squatters come in and just take over. I don't know.
But why do you care? You're dipping out on the property anyways.
Yeah, I don't know.
If you can't pay it, you're unhappy where you're at. It's just writing the letter to the bank is just the weirdest part of all this. I understand the letter to the family members, even to the job.
Yeah.
But writing a letter to the bank that owns the property,
to the mortgage company.
Yeah, that just seems weird.
Yeah. And so, the family members and friends are thinking this is very odd behavior from Beverly, but at the same time, the handwriting did seem to match her handwriting. And so an initial search of her condo turned up nothing out of the ordinary as well. Police then discovered that her phone had been disconnected and her identifying documents such as birth certificates and passports were missing. Now, this is bizarre, but at the same time, sometimes people have a mental breakdown or they just have like a moment where they're like, I've had it with this lifestyle. I'm done. And some
that's
people
true.
do
And
just run off. And she didn't have a family she was leaving behind, like as far as like, kids or anything like that. So
Right. And I mean, she's in her 30s too. I mean, she's an adult. Yeah. She has every right to make this decision. And also, if someone is going to disappear and leave, they are going to take all their personal documents. I mean, that makes perfect sense.
Exactly.
Honestly.
It would almost be more concerning, right, if they were left. Because then where did she go?
Exactly.
Yeah, if she took her passport, that's actually like, maybe she did run off.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it kind of makes sense. And the handwriting was damn close to hers too. Mm-hmm. So
well, it kind of made sense until a body was found. So on July 19th, 1990, you might have noticed that we said she was reported missing on July 20th. So this is a day before a body was found, but they hadn't connected it to Beverly yet. Mm-hmm. On July 19th, 1990, female remains were found by a construction worker in a rural canal in St. Lucie County, Florida. And this was a construction worker who was out looking in a canal for bass fishing bait. So looking for, crawdads or whatever he was looking for.
Right.
And he found a woman's remains. The woman had been mutilated by removing a tattoo on her stomach. So a section of skin had been cut off of her torso. Her head had been decapitated, so her head had been removed. Her hands had been severed to hinder the identification process. However, the killer had overlooked another small tattoo, a small yellow flower on her ankle. And this, along with some teeth that were left from the decapitation, were enough to positively identify the woman as Beverly McGowan. So Beverly, these letters, clearly, they were deceptive. She was not starting a new life. She was, in fact, murdered.
Yes.
And so now the police are looking for someone who wrote these letters and also who obviously did this horrendous murder.
Yeah. Horrendous, but also necessary if you're trying to get away with this. You know what I mean? It's like you can see why the killer went to this extent, as
trying to buy themselves more time to get away by, making it hard to identify the body.
Right, but they also don't want...
Trying to make it look like Beverly's still on the run, potentially. Like this could be some other woman.
Exactly. You don't. If this body becomes identified as the person that you're posing as, that's a big problem.
Yeah.
So they went to a pretty crazy extent to not have her identified. But how do you leave teeth? That's kind of crazy. I understand missing the tattoo. I understand that. But obviously you didn't decapitate her at the neck, which is strange, right? In my opinion, I don't know. Or maybe she decapitated her at the site and some teeth were left. I don't know.
I think it was like maybe molars or something in the back. Like she knocked out all the front teeth, but left some in the rear. I think it was like near the jaw. connection where there was some teeth
And
left.
those are the teeth that they most likely identify people with, those molars.
Yeah, they're not going to identify you by your 2 front teeth more often than not. It's going to be the back sections, I think.
Yep.
Yeah. So knife wounds to the throat were deemed to be the cause of death. So pretty brutal murder.
Yes.
Go ahead. You're going to say something?
I was just going to say, I mean, it's crazy that there was no evidence found. Especially
where
a
was
bloody
you
murder.
have to wonder, where was the murder? Where did it take place, right? It couldn't have been in the condo. Right. There would have been blood everywhere.
Yeah, there's no way. It
had to have taken place at a second location.
Yeah, or maybe even here in the wilderness somewhere. Maybe she finished her off here. You don't know. We could have drugged her and took her out.
You have to assume she forced her to write those letters first, right? Because how else would the handwriting been so similar?
I don't know.
Well, then again, maybe she was just an expert at recreating handwriting because that's what she did so often.
I was going to say, if you're a con man, I mean, that should be one of the main skills you practice.
Yeah.
I mean, disguising yourself and then disguising your handwriting. Mm-hmm. I mean, that would be top of the list. And this person, we later find out this person is somewhat artistic as well. So most of the time, people who can draw well and paint well or whatnot, they have really good penmanship, and they're probably able to copy other people's with good samples. And this was the 90s where people wrote shit down a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No doubt.
So there was a lot more handwriting samples all over the place, I'm sure, for her to copy.
Yeah. So around the time that the body was identified as Beverly, police found her car at a motel near the Miami International Airport. The vehicle had been there for at least 5 days by the time it was recovered, and inside the car was found some wig fibers, leading you to believe that this person was, hiding their identity, as they suspected. $795 out of the $800 in Beverly's bank account had been withdrawn, and her credit cards had been used on a shopping spree at the Aventura Mall, 20 miles north of Miami.
That's bold, right?
Yeah. So, of course, police go to the mall and begin talking to people who worked in the stores where the credit card was used. And these employees described the shopper as an attractive, well-dressed blonde woman. Now, you have those wig fibers in the car, so you have to wonder, was that her hair or was that a wig? What was going on with that? She wasn't just walking around in her normal look using these credit cards of a woman she just murdered. She had to have been doing some disguising of her, you would at least think.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Credit card records also showed that Beverly's card had been used to purchase a ticket for British Airlines Flight 292, which departed on July 22nd. The ticket had been purchased from a travel agency called the Thunderbird Travel in New Miami Beach, and the travel agent surprisingly described the person that purchased the ticket as a man dressed in women's clothing and a dark-colored wig.
Now this is confusing.
Yeah, now it's just getting fucking wacky.
It is. But either way, if you knew this ticket was purchased using the credit card, wouldn't you have some officers waiting at the destination to check the people coming off the plane?
Yeah, you would think this is purchased for a rental car, an Avis rental car, but I think it was too late at that point. I mean, the car had already been gotten.
Yeah.
So then all they could do was talk to people in England, at that Avis over the phone or whatever.
Right. I don't know the exact time frame, but obviously they were a little bit behind proceedings here.
Yeah.
She was still a couple steps ahead of the police here at this point, obviously, because it seems like if you knew this information, like if you saw that the credit card had been hit, right, and she's on the plane, I just feel like she's dead in the water, right? Whoever it is.
No,
at very least,
they were days late.
She'd
already flown over there. They were days late. Okay. She already picked up the travel. She did try to use the credit card, one of the stolen credit cards, to pay for the rental car over there, and that had already been reported stolen at this time. But so the person had paid for the rental car with cash at that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which you can't even do that anymore.
Right.
For good reason.
Yeah, you have to have a card on file, right?
Yeah, for good reason. Yeah. That's crazy. You could rent a car with cash back then. You could just leave.
Especially after a card was declined and it comes back stolen. It's like, oh,
right.
Well, you got cash? I mean.
All right, sure, we'll take it.
Obviously, you're a trustworthy person.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this person was very charismatic.
Yeah.
They played the part well.
2 police sketches would be made at this point. One of a blonde-haired woman they'd gotten a description from the mall workers, and the other of a man wearing glasses and a dark-colored wig that they had gotten from the travel agency. And at this point, police suspected they might have an idea of who this was because of the timing of this situation. A 31-year-old woman named Laurencia Ann Bambi Bembenek was a young former police officer who had murdered her husband's ex-wife and had escaped from a Wisconsin prison only 2 days before Beverly went missing. So yeah, you had this woman who's a known murderer who had just escaped from Wisconsin prison only 2 days prior to this event of Beverly going missing and her identity being stolen and all of this. And it just so happened she had been on the lam with a man who helped her escape prison, a man named Dominic Guglielmi, who was now her fiance. He helped her escape from prison. He was waiting outside the prison in a car when she escaped out a window somewhere in the prison. I forget what the details were, but we could almost do an episode on her. She has a whole Wikipedia page as well. This Bambi Bembenek is an interesting character. If we're just going to go on a spree every week of doing female killers, might as well.
Right. We could get her in there as well. And this would also explain the quote-unquote man that bought the plane ticket, right? Mm-hmm. So the cops were, they weren't crazy to be following up on these two. Yeah. By any means.
The only problem is by October, the theory came apart because the two of them were found up in Ontario, Canada. And their whereabouts during the time of this disappearance and like plane ticket being purchased and all of that just did not line up with where they were at the time. Right. So they were ruled out as potential suspects in Beverly's disappearance. At this point, police were sure that whoever this mysterious Alice person was had something to do with Beverly's murder. So they had talked to Beverly's family and friends and heard about this person that she was smitten with that she had chosen as her new roommate. Right. And heard all about the interview, the numerology, all of that. And they had learned that Beverly had given this woman some personal information like passport number, driver's license number, potentially social security number. And all of a sudden she goes missing and is found murdered. So they clearly, and also this Alice person was the only one of the candidates that didn't give her last name to Beverly, did not give a phone number to Beverly. She's going to be coming to live with you, and she won't even give you her last name or phone number. And she wants all of your personal info.
I was about to say, and then you in turn trust her with all of your personal information. It's like when you are the property owner, it's like you have the upper hand. This person who wants to come live in your house needs to be giving up information. Like that's a red flag right away. They don't want to give up any information, but they want your social security number. Like, no thanks.
Yep. And so when police started looking into what they had heard about this Alice person, they found no record of a woman being transferred to Florida from an IBM in England, which she claimed she had been. Right. And Alice was the only roommate, as we mentioned, that hadn't provided a last name or anything like that. There's a lot of red flags popping up.
Oh, yeah.
No Alice registered for a flight 292 for London, but someone had picked up the rental car at the airport, as we mentioned, tried to use the credit card, came up stolen, and they paid for cash. Oddly, no one at that Avis in England could agree on what the person that picked up the car looked like. They all were arguing about, what this he or she person picked up the car looked like.
You're right.
So that wasn't helpful.
No, not at all. Yeah. Not at all. But I guess obviously they didn't have security cameras either. This would have really helped, right?
Yeah, and I imagine how many people you see in a car rental place at a big country like London or a big city like London where people are flying in from all over the world. You're seeing so many different faces every day, and I don't know. I guess the credit card being denied and the cash payment might have kind of like helped you to remember this person a little bit more, but I don't know.
Yeah, probably not. Like I said, I mean, if it wasn't illegal to pay in cash, then I'm sure plenty of people did. Yeah. I mean, because you know how people treat rental cars like shits. Yeah, no typically. Doubt. So they don't want to get charged anymore. So like if paying with cash was an option, I would definitely do that.
All right. In November of 1991, over a year after the murder, Unsolved Mysteries ran a 12-minute segment on the case. At which point it came to light that during the interview that Alice had done with, this Alice person had done 2 numerology tests on Beverly. The second involved Beverly handing over several pieces of personal information, including her passport number, driver's license number, social security number. She did so reluctantly. And as we mentioned earlier, this Alice person must have been very persuasive and charismatic in order to, in one sitting, get someone to hand over all this information without giving up any of her own personal information to them.
Right. And there might have also been a little bit more willingness on Beverly's part because of, maybe her age and her position in life. You know, she was in like her mid 30s. I think she was 34, 33, 34. Still single, still living alone. I mean, at that point, you may be very curious as to where your life is going to go. And if someone can give a hint, you know, especially to something like this, you may be a little more willing to fall for something. And especially if you've already agreed that you're going to be roommates, because it's like, well, this person's not going to do me wrong. We're going to be living together. Like, why would she do me wrong in this aspect? I know it's her. Yeah. You know, but still it's crazy to think that you give away passport, driver's license, and social security number upon meeting someone. Just seems absurd.
Yeah. And this was not the first person who had done this. I mean,
I know
this Alice person had gotten several other people to do the same thing.
Yeah. So it's crazy.
So although the Unsolved Mystery segment produced over 500 tips within 24 hours of its airing, none of them would pan out, and the case would remain unsolved for over another 5 years before they would get a solid lead. So in December of 1996, police announced that they had finally unmasked the identity of the mysterious Alice, and this would be 51-year-old Elaine Parent. This would be her real name, which was not something easily acquired.
Well, we think it's her real name. There was
we
really
think
no
so.
documentation
True.
found for
this.
this.
We don't have a birth certificate or anything like that for this person.
No.
But
So that's
well, maybe we'll just call that this was her main alias. Let's just say that.
Her oldest alias, probably.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's pretty interesting how police connected, found a connection from this Alice to Elaine Parent, and it was through a pad of stationery paper that was used to write the letters to Beverly's friends and family. So this was a pad of paper that was in this suspect's home that she had been using for many of her scams, many of her letters to send people, and there was imprints left. You know, when you press down and write things, you leave a trace, and they were able to connect a couple of different aliases, and they were able to connect one of the pad's writings to one of the people that she stole an identity from, and go meet with her. And so we'll get into more of that in a minute, but let's go into Elaine Parent, who we think is the actual birth name of this psychopathic killer / identity theft. Yeah, this chameleon. Yeah, the chameleon killer, the name of this episode. Right. She was born August 4th, 1942, and shares a birthday with Barack Obama, Louis Armstrong, and Billy Bob Thornton.
Wow, what a crew there.
That's an awesome group.
Yeah, it is. Seriously.
She later became known as the world's most wanted woman in the late 90s and 2000s, but relatively little is known about the real Elaine Antoinette Parent. Those who knew her and in some cases lived with her described her variously as beautiful, intelligent, charming, and bisexual, but also speak of her flip side, which was aggressive, prone to violent mood swings, and threatening. She was allegedly the only child of an American father and a French-Canadian mother. She grew up in the Bronx in New York, and by her 30th birthday, she was in Florida, and 3 years later acquired for her first conviction of shoplifting. For most of her adult life, however, she was a shapeshifter, and it's just hard to track where she was, what she was doing. She was stealing identities, going by different aliases. Yeah. Some of her 20 identities were stolen from women she met and seduced, but did not kill. Some were entirely invented, and some could not be traced by detectives at all. And some of the people that they know she stole an identity of are missing, and very well she may have killed them, and they've just not been found.
It's crazy that she committed her first shoplifting. Well, she got caught for her first shoplifting.
Yeah.
At 33.
That wasn't her first.
No.
Not a chance.
No, that's what I'm saying. At 33, she had already pulled off plenty of successful heists, probably.
Yeah, and I'm sure it had to do with her, with her whole vibe. I think that's why she was able to swindle Beverly earlier on, was like, people wouldn't assume she was going to steal. Like when she walks into a fancy store looking the way she looked, no one was even watching her, and she could just take whatever she wanted and lie about it if they said anything. Or
she looked wealthy, and a lot of times, especially when in America, she talked with a British accent, which made her seem more cultured. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we have a stupid thing here about that. You want to trust people with a British accent more for some reason.
Yeah, because they, like I said, they seem more cultured, they seem more intelligent for whatever reasons. We just have that stigma here in the U.S. about that type of thing, and she used that to her advantage.
I don't think it goes both ways, though. I think we go over there with our American accent, they're like, look at this wanker.
Yeah, look at this idiot. Look at this redneck.
Yeah. Watch some real football, dummy.
Right.
So they fear that women could have met the same fate as Beverly McGowan, these women that she'd stolen the identity from and were missing. Rena Crowningshield was the lead investigator in the case. She would connect Parent to McGowan's apartment through dim traces of handwriting left on the notepad that were found to be Parent's. And Crowningshield also found one of Parent's aliases very much alive, and this would be a woman named Charlotte Cowan. And so this is a woman that Elaine had stolen the identity of.
It's a lot of names here in this case.
There's a lot of names.
Yeah. It is easy to get confused. I hope you guys are following this.
Right. So police, of course, go to see Charlotte Cowan, a person that she had stolen the identity of. And from her home on Florida's west coast, Cowan said that she met Parent about 10 years ago at a bar called Faces in Orlando. I think that Elaine Parent, if that's what her real name was targeting gay bars. I think she targeted lesbians because she was very attractive and charismatic, and would try to strike up a relationship with them, get them to trust her, and then take advantage of them. Whether she was actually bisexual or not, I don't know, or if she just viewed them as a good potential victim.
Yeah, I think that was probably what it was, and the fact that she could most likely overpower them more easily if it did come to murdering and disposing of the body and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she didn't seem to target men as victims. It was entirely women.
Right.
So Parent would impress Cowan with her fine clothes, British accent, and charisma. She had straight, short red hair similar to Cowan's, according to Cowan. And they began chatting. Before long, Parent asked Cowan about her birthday and said she was into numerology and wanted to profile Cowan. Sounds very similar to what happened with Beverly.
Yes.
Though Cowan had never heard of numerology, she agreed to hand over her driver's license number, birth date, and time of birth. Those things seem kind of benign, not too okay, driver's license. We show people our driver's license all the time. Not quite the same as handing over your passport and your social security card and things like that, but
right. Yeah, those are a little more extreme.
Yeah. Parent wrote it on a cocktail napkin and told her of a rosy future. See, that part's a little sketch. Like, why do you need to write down my shit?
Yeah, right.
I mean, to keep for yourself.
Well, she's doing the equation, right? Because you have to do a little bit of math, I would think, with numerology.
Yeah,
you don't just get the numbers. Like, you got to lay them all out and see what the map says. I don't know shit about numerology. Somebody's going to be like, you guys should have studied numerology before you did this episode.
I don't want to study it. I think it's BS. I think this is coming from my ignorant and not knowing perspective here, but to me, it just is one of those things where you can make whatever you want with it. Of course, if you take a bunch of fucking numbers, you can make it say whatever the hell you want to, It's like the psychic shit. Like, they just start throwing stuff out and then people go, my grandma died of that. I am getting a feeling someone in here has recently had a family member pass of cancer. My mom that's why you're there, because you're trying to grieve through some shit. Of course you're going to it's going to be a room full of people that just went through a traumatic experience going to these things.
Exactly. And when you involve numbers, like you said, you can make them come out to whatever you want. The movie 23 with Jim Carrey. Remember that? Have you seen that movie?
Yeah. Well, I haven't seen the movie, but yeah.
Well, you get the idea. He finds the number 23 and everything, and he just starts getting super paranoid about it.
Well, of course, we ignore numbers that aren't significant to us, and then we, of course, focus on ones that are. Like, when you look at the clock, my birthday's October 17th. Every time I look at the clock, it seems like it says 10:17, but it's like I look at it when it's 10:31, and I don't fucking even think about it at all. I just glance and go, it's 10:31. Yeah. But, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. I feel you.
Anyways, numerology's bullshit. Sorry if you're into it. That's my opinion.
Right.
Whatever, you can
do whatever you want. You can believe whatever you want. And if you believe it enough,
you can leave a 1-star review if you want. You're entitled to that. Maybe that's your numerology one.
Yeah, we'll work that into our numerology outcome.
So Parent divulged not too damn much about herself, according to Cowan. Shocker. She said that she'd been involved with a woman before who had hurt her bad. And a few days later, Parent visited Cowan and her mother for lunch. So she comes and visit with, her and her mom now. She's probably trying to swindle her mom out of some information as well.
Right.
And she had fooled Cowan's mother as well. She said, even my mother thought she was a sophisticated person. My mom is no fool. Cowan didn't hear from Parent again for some time. Shocker. So she got what she wanted. She got her identity and her information, and she,
in the wind.
Disappeared for a while before giving Cowan a phone call telling her that her aunt had died and that her brother was and her were supposed to split the inheritance, but she said her brother had committed her to a hospital to keep her from the money.
Elaborate.
What a tale.
Right?
Yeah.
If I was Cowan, I'd have been like, what hospital? I'll come see you.
Yeah, right. About a month later, Parent showed up at Cowan's home at 3 a.m. wearing a paste-on mustache and said that she was in disguise so she could escape from the hospital.
She's really going full-fledged with this thing, man.
Whew. Okay, once you
give it to her, at
escape from the hospital, don't you take the mustache off? Because you look like she had to have looked ridiculous in that mustache.
Right? Once you get out the door, I don't think the hospital staff is searching for you anymore. I think you can,
Right.
I think you can take, yeah, like you say, you can take the mustache off.
Right.
But she was
Why
really
don't you
sticking to
just-
this lie.
Yeah, change to a different-looking female's identity instead of a female with a mustache. I don't know.
Although
It
she
seems-
must be somewhat convincing of a male when she dresses that way, because
Maybe she had that maybe she had that Ted Bundy face where it was kind of like, you know, sharp features and like different lighting, a two-face as Seinfeld would put it. There's another Seinfeld reference for you.
Yeah.
Depending on the lighting, she looked like either a man or a woman. Who knows?
Right. You just
Throw a
don't know.
mustache on, all of a sudden she looks like Brad Pitt or something. I don't know.
Right. Who knows? I mean, she obviously convinced some people, because people at the rental place argued that she could have been a man, and same thing at the airport. So she pulled off a convincing man in some way.
Yeah. So upon spilling this story onto Cowan, she cried and begged Cowan for her birth certificate so she could use it to get identification to hide from her brother.
Wow.
And Cowan actually gave it to her, which at this point I'm just like, come on, man.
Damn it, Cowan.
You had to have known deep down, like, I'm handing
This
this
doesn't
to
seem
you,
like a
and
good
I
idea.
know this is probably a bad idea,
Right.
but here you go. You know, we've been there in life, right, where you're just like, this is probably dumb, but
Yeah.
I bought a car from the sketchiest dude on Craigslist once, and I was just like, this is going to go badly. And sure enough, it did. I couldn't get it fucking registered because the title had all sorts of issues.
Yeah.
Thankfully, Cars for Kids took it off my hands and gave me a tax write-off for it, so whatever.
Well, there you go.
But as I was handing him the money, I was like, this is probably dumb. And it was.
Lesson learned.
Listen to your spidey senses, dude.
My cousin made a trade for a car one time. He had a car that he had been worked on. He got everything fixed on it. It was a Honda Accord, you know, pretty basic car. But for some reason, he wanted a freaking like lifted truck, and he traded for this truck that was like lifted on 35s. And on his way home, the brakes go out, and he's in a ditch. Fucking totals it on the way home. He hasn't even registered it yet. And I'm like, that's when you knew that was a bad fucking decision.
Yeah. Oh, my God. It's awesome.
All right.
So a few weeks later, Parent mailed back Cowan the birth certificate along with an apology for taking so long. And Cowan would never hear from her again. And she says, quote, "To be honest, I have never forgotten this woman. There's something about her. She's definitely a good looking woman." So still leaving a positive impression on a person who stole her identity and could have very well killed her. I mean, now looking back, she must know, knowing what she is, having killed other people, like I could have easily been a murder victim.
Right. Well, I think when you're interviewed after the fact, you're trying to explain why you fell for it. Right?
Why you did some dumb things like handing over your identity to a murderer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you're more willing to flatter the criminal in this sense.
She's probably saying, you had to be there, dude. You would have given her your shit
listen,
too. She's that charismatic
beautiful.
and that good looking.
Right? Yeah. And she's British. I mean, come on.
Like, I'd almost be okay with her murdering me. That's how amazing she is.
That's how amazing she was.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
In an attempt to snag Parent for questioning, the State Department had filed passport and fraud charges against her, but Parent hadn't been seen since she was arrested in North Miami in 1991. Of course, she's not going to be seen under her own identity, though. I mean, she's out there. No. She's just using some other people's shit.
Yeah.
And you don't know who it is until it's too late, and she's on to the next one. You're always a step behind. You're like, catch me if you can.
Yep.
Cowan would say as well, if she finds the right person, she'll get whatever she wants. And back in London, it was learned that Parent had a former lover, a female senior executive at a blue chip company. And although detectives would not discover this for another 5 years, the couple had lived together for several years until Parent's mood swings and demands for money split them up. Parent had even tried to blackmail her lover. And this, she would manage to persuade her former lover to take her in again. And as the police searched in vain, their quarry was living comfortably in a smart house in southwest London. And when the relationship floundered again, Parent's actions became more extraordinary. She would kidnap her former lover's dogs, taking them to America and attempting to hold them ransom.
Jesus.
She also sent the woman death threats.
You know how expensive
So they find
it
out
probably
about all
was to
this
fly
later
with
on.
those dogs?
I know, right? That's so
You flew
messed
the
up.
dogs back to America to hold them ransom. Don't
Yeah.
you have a better shot at getting what you want by still being in the country with the person? Like, I don't know. I don't understand this move.
Yeah.
I don't get this. Maybe she was just that angry.
Yeah. So later, Parent would be arrested in Miami Beach in possession of documents that showed her to have 3 separate identities. However, remarkably, police failed to run her name through the computer and released her on bail,
I
not
don't
knowing
get
that
this,
she was
dude.
the main suspect in a murder and also many other fraud crimes and things like that.
Also,
Identity theft.
when they pulled her over at this point, when they found her, she was in basically a stolen rental car that was way overdue.
Yeah.
Right? I don't understand. Okay, so you got a stolen rental car, you got a woman with multiple IDs,
3 different identities. Yeah.
3 different identities, and you take her in and you can't hold her. I'm like, at very least, like Grand Theft Auto, right? Can't you hold her for that for a little bit of time? Like, you don't at least fingerprint her. Like, this is that one instance where the killer just gets stupid lucky. It's like almost every serial killer we've covered, they get stupid lucky at one point in time. Randy Kraft had that instance where he got pulled over and nothing happened. You know,
And what's
there's
amazing,
so
this
many
is in
of them.
Florida. It's not like it was in some other country where they just don't, they weren't communicating as well. They weren't told
Right.
to be on the lookout for her. This is in Miami Beach,
This is where this was her main
where she's wanted
residence.
for murder.
Yes, where she shows up the most.
Yeah. Mind blowing.
Unbelievable. Yeah. I don't understand this. This is kind of inexcusable in my opinion. But, a beautiful woman, maybe she charmed the hell out of him and got out.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how do you explain having 3 different IDs though.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
So she's on the lam again. They realize they fucked up, and this is where she becomes known as the Chameleon Killer. Now she's getting off on this chase, this whole situation, and she sends authorities in America an oil painting of herself in a one-piece bikini with on the back written "You're Chameleon, best wishes," and her signature.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I don't think it can be one piece and a bikini, but a one-piece bathing suit, right?
Bathing suit, whatever. Oh, is that what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because bikini, like,
Did you see the oil painting?
makes
The
it 2
picture of
words.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did. It's not bad. It's not bad. It's not the most flattering picture.
I wonder
of
if
her,
she did
though.
it or if someone else painted her.
That's a good question. She probably did it, being as narcissistic as she is.
I could see her charming some woman who was a good painter into doing the painting for her and promising to pay her and then taking her own money and paying her with her. Maybe not even doing that, just stealing the painting.
Just stealing the painting and mailing it. Yeah. I don't know.
So at this point, when she's on the run, she's just all over the place. Investigations showed that she next surfaced in New Mexico running a restaurant. Then she was working as a store clerk in Sears in Tennessee and was rumored to be spotted in France, Turkey, Australia, and South Africa.
I mean, that's possible because I know she did pose as a South African person
Yeah.
a couple times. And the South African accent, to an untrained ear is not that different from English, honestly.
Yeah.
It's very similar. So you could easily get away with that in America,
Yeah.
for sure.
In 1992, even as the Florida police sought her in connection with Beverly's murder, she, under another identity, filed a civil negligence suit against the state after she slipped and injured herself in a restaurant.
The audacity.
She's suing the state that's looking for her for murder. And wins through the police. She won. She
This
was
is
awarded
America.
damages and then disappeared again in 1994. Dr. Barbara Kerwin is a leading forensic psychologist who profiled Parent several months before her death. She said, quote, "She is driven by her own psychological demons. I believe she steals identities compulsively to fill up the emptiness of her own personality. She also believed that Parent feared and needed the police manhunt. She needed the manhunt, but also feared it. Quote, the oil painting is very theatrical. I believe she sent it to law enforcement as a way of thumbing her nose at them, of sort of teasing them by saying, 'I'm alive, I'm well, look out for me, but you'll never find me.'"
Yeah, absolutely. She did. And she did that right after she got away with being arrested with all the IDs. I mean, imagine how much that bolstered her confidence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It makes sense that she would do something this brazen right after that.
Yep.
You know, she's feeling confident as hell. She's feeling like she ain't getting caught.
Yep. However, she does get caught. She gets caught up too. Florida police would catch up with Parent finally in Panama City, Florida on April 6, 2002, after they received a tip that the suspect was back in Florida under yet another assumed identity. And following this lead, they would go to an apartment in Panama City in the state's panhandle. And they weren't positive that this was the person. They'd had so many close calls looking for her and things like that. They just knew there was a woman inside the apartment. They wanted to talk to her in connection with this, crime spree or whatever. Mm-hmm. And she was not coming to the door. She's saying, I'm going to get changed. And while they waited outside the bedroom, one officer became suspicious and knocked on the door he then heard a gunshot. And when they entered the room, they found Elaine Parent dead of a gunshot wound to the heart. She had taken her own life. And,
Yeah. She was going to go out on her own terms, man.
The chase was over. Yeah, they weren't going to. She was not going to give them the satisfaction of bringing her in.
Nope.
She wins in the end in her mind.
I read in one article that the police gained entry into her house under the ruse of that they were investigating another crime in the neighborhood, and she was like, so they were like, "Can we just wait inside?" And because she said, "I need to go and get changed."
Yeah.
And then I'll talk to you. And they're like, well, can we wait inside? And then I guess she was smart enough. She figured it out. She wasn't buying the bullshit. She was like, why'd you come talk to me of all people? I think she knew the gig was up.
Her time was up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, there's been concerns that in her time on the run, she's likely to have committed other murders. Sylvia Hodgkinson was one woman that she'd stolen the identity of that's never been located. And it's believed she most likely murdered Sylvia.
Right.
That was the woman that they connected through the pad writings and things like that. She'd been communicating with this missing person.
Yeah.
Some investigators have even questioned if Elaine Parent was her actual given name, as you mentioned earlier, since no birth certificate for her has ever been found.
Who knows?
Yeah. Wow. Beverly McGowan's murder and the search for Elaine Parent were profiled on Unsolved Mysteries and America's Most Wanted. In 2003, BBC did a special documentary on Parent's criminal career entitled The World's Most Wanted Woman. Some of this stuff is what we used to study this case. It's in the show notes below.
Right.
But yeah, what a fascinating character this was. It almost makes you wish we had more information. Like she was too elusive.
Yes, she was.
You get almost nothing about her background, her childhood, none of that. Like what the hell turned her into what she was? We don't know.
And there's only a very limited number of pictures of her as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see pictures of the oil painting and whatnot, and there are...
And even these pictures, you have to wonder, was she in disguise at the time?
Exactly. We don't know what she looked like. Like you said, she had one of those faces, like sometimes you see a picture and you're like, wow, yeah, she was a very attractive woman. I see how she could have charmed the hell out of people and gotten away. And then others, I'm like, oh, okay, now I can see how people would think she was a man. Like like you say, she definitely had the Bundy thing going on. She was a chameleon in every sense of the word, even though she gave that name to herself, which I hate calling killers stuff when they give themselves the name, but it is what it is.
Right.
It's like you say, I guess she earned it being that elusive. And like I say, especially in such a more modern time, it's like a lot of the con people and heists and crooks and stuff that we've covered, were taking place 60s, 70s, but to be able to run these schemes up through the 90s and early 2000s, it's quite impressive. I think if she's a man, she just doesn't get away with it this long.
Yeah, I'm looking at the photos. No, I'm looking at the very few photos we have, and it's interesting the sketch that the police did of the man that had gone into the travel agency, the dark hair with the dark hair and the glasses. Actually, you can see how it looks like her because the nose is identical to her nose. The real picture of her, and you look at that and you're like, okay, kind of a squarish face with a long skinny nose. You could see if she puts on a long dark wig and some glasses, like some like men looking glasses, that's her.
Absolutely. A little mustache, she looks just like Weird Al.
Yep.
Right on.
All right. Well, if you want to change your identity, there's so many different scents of Oh My Gaia that you can help kind of confuse people.
You can change your scent identity.
Yes.
Right? And you can Well, guys, Oh My Guy is an innovative, all-natural deodorant fragrance and beard oil company specializing in paraben and aluminum-free products. And their innovative line of deodorants inhibit the growth of odor-causing bacteria while still maintaining effectiveness. And like Lauren alluded to, there are tons of scents to choose from Oh My Guy, with new scents being added all the time, like vanilla, cherry almond, sandalwood, lavender, lemongrass, Egyptian musk, coconut, dreamsicle, leather, lumberjack, honeysuckle, fireside, bergamot amber. There's sweet pea, sailor, barbershop, and of course our very own scent, True Crime Pine. You guys can check all those out at ohmygaia.com. That's ohmygaia.com. And because you're True Crime Guys listeners, you can get 15% off your order. That's 15% off your order by using the word creeper, CREEPER, at ohmygaia.com or at shop_ohmygaia on Instagram. And again, that's ohmygaia.com. Use code word creeper for 15% off.
Use code word creeper as well for our other weekly sponsor, Tonic CBD. It's true, not all CBD products are created equal, from how it's processed and grown to how it's formulated and delivered into your body. Every step of the process that goes into it makes the product, your experience with it. That's why Tonic's products really stand out. They created their own original formulas using CBD, adaptogens, herbs, and superfoods back in 2017 and have been working ever since to deliver the most effective, intentional, and sustainable products possible. They cultivate their own hemp on their certified organic family farm in upstate New York. That hemp travels only 30 minutes to their state-of-the-art manufacturing and distribution facility, where it's turned into a finished product and sent to you, ensuring only the highest quality vibes at every stage of the process. They have a bunch of different blends depending on your needs, where they mix in things like black seed oil, ashwagandha, lemon balm, passion flower, things that can help you relax before bed. Or they have blends for daytime, whatever you need. They have vape pens, they have pre-rolls, whatever it is that is your jam as far as, getting that CBD into your body. They have it available to you, and it's easy to verify the quality of their products. They have a microchip on the top of the packaging that allows you to tap your phone on it and reveal third-party lab reports, product information, and details about their farm. That CBD you get at the gas station is you're not going to know where that came from. It's not going to want you to know where that came from.
No.
CBD is very transparent in how their product is manufactured and created and shipped to you.
Right.
That's rare with a lot of CBD companies. So with values rooted in quality, integrity, and sustainability, Tonic is committed to creating plant-based wellness products that are good for you, good for the planet. Visit tonicvibes.com and learn more using code word creeper to get 20% off your order. That's tonicvibes.com, code word creeper.
Yeah, you can also get more information at Tonic CBD on Instagram as well, and get to know the owner of Tonic, Brittany Carbone. Get to know her a little bit better, and all that she's involved in as far as the CBD and cannabis industries.
Yeah, check out their stories on their Instagram page. You can see their farm; it's beautiful.
It is.
Yeah, like I said, most CBD companies they're gonna outsource or whatever. Who knows where they're getting their CBD from?
Yes, they're just jumping on the bandwagon.
Yeah, there's no hiding where this is coming from. You can see the process from the farm where all of the hemp's being grown to you can actually see them trimming the buds in their factory. You can see the whole process from start to finish, which is pretty rare. So check it out.
Absolutely. And guys, also check out Patreon, patreon.com/truecrimeguys. For just $5 a month, you guys can get access to everything that we create on there, as well as every True Crime Guys Patreon exclusive, all of our Vault episodes, Just the Banter, which we're going to record after this, which we do every Friday, as well as Lauren's 5-Minute Murder, Strange Shorts with myself and Andy, who will be on JTB this week, also Sandu Stories. So there is a ton of stuff on Patreon right now. If you've never been a patron of True Crime Guys, oh my God, you are going to be buried in content. There are so many audio files on there that have never seen the free platforms.
Yep.
So again, that's patreon.com/truecrimeguys. Go check that out. Also check us out on YouTube. Right, Lauren?
That's
subscribe.
Right. Subscribe. Support that channel as well. If you like the show and you haven't checked out the video form yet, you can see what we look like. You can see what we're talking about during the episode instead of Google searching the killer on your phone or whatever. It's all done for you. All you got to do is sit back and relax. Michael's wife, Kristen, does all that work for you, getting all the images and all of that and putting them in front of your face. So yeah, it's definitely a different experience that I recommend.
Absolutely. Photos of the killer, photos of the victims, their families, crime scenes, anything that we can find related to the case and what we're talking about will be shown on the screen with more information. So, again, check that out. YouTube, the official True Crime Guys channel. Go give us a follow. We haven't been on YouTube very long. We're trying to reach 1,000 subscribers. We are very close. Very close.
Yep.
It's over 900 now. So go help us out, guys. Go hit that subscribe button. And
maybe we should give something
go
away for the 1,000 subscriber. When we hit 1,000, I
so?
think we should give something away.
I got
Not
some
to the
patches.
1,000th subscriber, but like give something away to any random subscriber. At that point.
Okay, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. I got some exclusive True Crime Guys patches still. I got a few left
how about
over.
how about we pick one random person who's left a comment on one of our videos? Once we hit 1,000, we'll pick a random person who left a comment,
All right.
and we'll give
Sounds
them
good.
some. What'd you say you wanted to give them a patch?
Yeah, I give them a couple patches. I still
Give
got
them
a
a
couple
patch
of
kit. Give them one of
exclusive
each of our patches.
We got some Hush Your Mouth Boy patches left over, and we got a couple Cult Shit patches. Not a whole
Nice.
lot of either, but we do have a few. So that would be.
I'll send them a sticker pack too. We can send
you
you one
go.
of each of our stickers that we have.
There we go.
So.
All right, guys.
All right, guys. That about does it. I think is it Patreon next week? Feels like it should be.
Yeah, it definitely should be.
All right. Well, there you go. No better time to sign up for Patreon than now, because next week you don't get an episode unless you're on there. So.
That's right.
Otherwise, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Free Lotus. Keep creeping.
Keep creeping, guys.
True crime guys, in the desert we like a mirage. It's okay if you clicked on us cause you thought we was True Crime Garage. Now we ain't mad at you, sit down, let us talk at you. I'm talking to the creeper army, we out here making murder, get murder, get murder. True crime guys, in the desert we like a mirage. It's okay if you clicked on us cause you thought we was True Crime Garage. Now we ain't mad at you, sit down, let us talk at you. I'm talking to the creeper army, we out here making murder charming.
From the minds of True Crime Guys, come.
TCG Weekly. If you've enjoyed this episode, please feel free to check out all the other programs on the TCG network. Every Wednesday, a new episode of True Crime Guys proper, Strange and Unexplained on Mondays, and Full House Fantasy Football on Fridays to start your weekend. And if those aren't enough, head on over to our Patreon account, where you can have access to hundreds of hours of content, including older episodes and other Patreon exclusives like Strange Shorts, Sandu Stories, Higher Thoughts, and the 5-Minute Murder Show. But until next time, guys, keep creeping. Hey, how do you shut this thing off? Over?